Right. We also got Sarabjit Kaur Nangra, Vice President Research at Angel Broking, joining us in this leg of the discussion. Sarabjit, thanks for joining us. We are just discussing about Alkem with Surajit. What is your take on the Alkem Laboratories pricing and prospects?
Yeah. See, prospects, I think, has been well discussed so far, I think, on the company. My contention is that vis-a-vis the business model that Alkem has, for example, I'm taking a case of Ipca Labs. My concern is definitely growth prospects are nice. It's market leader in most of its category. It's which shows in its dominance in the market leadership that it has in different therapeutic segments. But the only contention is in the profitability front of it. The profitability of a company which gets 75% of its revenues from domestic markets generally tend to have a stable operating margin and profitability, which we have not seen in the case of Alkem Labs in the last couple of years. First half has been pretty good, and I hope that continues for the company going forward also. One reason which I can probably assign to is it because they are investing in building up capabilities and other things to make sure that it aligns to the market dynamics that's prevailing in the industry. But my concern is mainly on profitability, and one more reason is that if you look at the business ROICs of Alkem Labs in comparison to companies like Ipca, which are in its peers in terms of size and its possible future model that I can see emerging out of Alkem, because it's also focusing a large emphasis on US market. So I think domestic part will reduce as we go forward. So both drivers will continue to do well, but I guess profitability profile on a normalized business of Ipca, and if I have to compare Alembic Lab, I think they are not comparable, because Alkem Lab is, in my consideration, has been a pretty low profitable business in comparison to Ipca Labs. So if we give Ipca Labs for our own universe, we give companies like Ipca Labs 18 times forward multiples. So I think if the company currently, in my numbers, it's trading at around 14, which looks lucrative, but a part of that 14 is because 30% of its PBT is because of other income, which is pretty high actually, which I think the dominance of profitability coming a major part through other income is also not very great news, and taxes are pretty low.
Fair enough.
If I combine these two factors, I normalize the P, then it's 17 times. So even if the growth is there, profitability is lower. So even though we believe prospects are good in the long term, we believe the pricing has been pretty stable and fair. So we are not advising actually aggressive buying into the stock at this point. Probably when it gets listed, it falls because of any concerns which emerges, or any entry point that you get which is lucrative, we will get into the stock.
Okay, Sarabjit, I'm going to ask you a very basic question. I was just looking at the year-to-date and one-year charts of the three companies that we are comparing, Alkem with Torrent, Alembic, and Ipca. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison, because pharmaceutical, every company does a different thing. But Ipca is up only about what? About 3.5% year-to-date and a one-year basis. Relatively, if you were to put your money, would you buy Alkem, Laboratories in IPO, or would you go and put your money in Ipca?
See, as far as I'm concerned, as I mentioned earlier, for me, Alkem Labs is a good business profile, but profitability is an issue. Once that improves and stabilizes, definitely it's a good company. Second part too is whether I would buy Ipca or I'll buy Alkem Labs. I would definitely prefer Ipca Labs, because Ipca Labs is, once there's US problems gets resolved, I think it's much more superior business to get into. And currently, even if you look at asset to turnover, any of the ratios, profitability ratios suppressed because of things going in their domestic markets, which happened in the last quarter, and obviously the US thing. So once that gets rectified, I think it's a good entry point to get into Ipca rather than Alkem Labs.
Okay, I think we have one more Dr. PathLabs to discuss with both our guests. So we'll slip into a quick break. We'll come back and talk about the IPOs in our IPO corner. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Bloomberg Bottom Line, and our focus is on the IPO market. We have two pharma companies out there, Alkem Laboratories, which we discussed, and the next one is Dr. Lal Path Labs IPO, which is open today. Lal Path Labs has, of course, already raised 191 crores from Anchor Investors. Shraddha is here with the quick details on this IPO. Shraddha.
So if we just talk about what Dr. Lal Path Labs does, we're the second largest diagnostic services player in the country. So probably they're in fact going to be the only listed diagnostic player. They're looking to raise as much as 638 crores on the upper price band. Again, just like Alkem, this is a offer for sale. So no primary money is going to be flowing into the company from this IPO. Post the issue, promoter shareholding will stand at about 58%. If you look at the financials for the last 5 years ended FY15, net sales have grown at a good CAGR of 29% and net profit by about 34%. Their operating margins are also significantly higher at about 23 to 24%. It's a debt-free company with cash on books at about 150 crores. As I mentioned, they do not have any comparable listed peers. However, some of the other diagnostic chains are SRL Diagnostics, Metropolis Healthcare, Thyrocare and Quest Diagnostics. And if we just talk about the company, well, they have 172 clinical labs that they own, about 1,500 patient service centers and 7,000 pickup points. And the predominant presence is in North India. So they're earning as much as 80% of the revenues from North and East India. That's as far as the IPO details are.
Right. We've got two of our guests still on this. In fact, earlier we spoke to Om Manchanda, the CEO of Dr. Lal Path Labs. This is what he had to say on what the plans are on the money raise.
We believe that it will enhance our visibility in the market, and it will also, because our market shares are very low, and with a significant brand visibility, we believe we should be able to drive our organic growth further. And we also believe that this market, you can do a lot of inorganic growth, and we should be able to enter some of the new markets as well.
There have been some concerns raised over the valuation, also that at 540 it might be slightly expensive. What is your take on that? On
the valuation front, we have been guided by our bankers, and as I shared earlier as well, that we had a road show, we traveled to many places, and that is quite visible in our anchor book, that we have been able to close our anchor book on the top end of the price range, which is 550. That shows that everyone has a lot of confidence on this valuation.
Your numbers in the past fiscal have been pretty good. Going forward, what will drive growth according to you, and what will your focus be on?
See, there are 2-3 factors people should consider. One is the market is growing very fast. It's about 16 to 17% growth, and it's still very underserved, underpenetrated market. And it's highly unorganized, fragmented, and the players like us are really driving this shift from unorganized to organized. So all in all, there's a very large opportunity, and we believe we are positioned very well in this large market, and have built a very strong consumer-facing brand, and we hope to continue to do so.
We still have, of course, Surajit and Sarabjit on the pharma IPOs. Sarabjit, let me start off with you. Dr. Lal Path Labs, a very familiar brand, very interesting space. What's your call on this IPO?
Definitely a very promising company, a promising segment they are into. Nothing wrong in the company, absolutely from top to bottom. Actually, only risk is their concentration in North, but then I guess since it's a growing market and most of the diagnostic centers are regional, I guess when they grow they will expand and diversify it into other regions also. But I mean, absolutely, growth prospects, very brilliant, consistent performer in terms of top line, in terms of maintaining its profitability, a pretty highly profitable business in pharma, which I have come across with business ROE is more than 50%. So and a possibility that it will not get dented anywhere soon, because they are one of the leaders in this industry, not a marginal player. They have a strong cash balance in the books, which will keep them healthy in both terms, in growth as well as in maintaining their profitability by acquiring good manpower and being the leader, or keeping the head space in the segment. The only issue with we have right now is that the pricing is too tight right now. What they have given is 540 to 550. I think our calculation this year, I think at higher end of 550 also, it would be trading at around 44 times FY16 numbers. Though they are not comparable peers, but if I look at it's like a cash cow business, which you can in a way compare to FMCG companies, because these are cash cow businesses. They're also HUL, if you trades at somewhere around close to 47, if I'm not wrong, one year forward numbers, probably. So I guess valuations are pretty tight. Otherwise, very good business to get in if you get an opportunity, if it corrects. Which you can't, you can't time it because of the kind of business they are into. But currently, we're giving a void just because of valuations. Otherwise, fantastic business to get in if you get an opportunity to get into the company.
Shraddha?
Okay, I would also like to ask you, how do you see the competition in this sector panning out? In fact, companies like Thyrocare have priced their products or other services or tests much lower than Path Labs. So how do you see this pricing trend moving as far as Dr. Path Labs is concerned? In fact, even their growth over the last few years has been driven by volume growth. So how do you really see this playing out as far as Path Labs is concerned?
See, for Path Lab, one thing I've noticed is, most of the Indian industries are driven, barring few, most of the industries are driven by volume, and that is true for pharmaceutical also. As an industry, it's more volume driven rather than pricing. So to that extent, I think my rough calculation says volume growth in this industry is roughly 16 to 17, whereas rest of the pricing growth of 3 to 4%, which is decent enough. So that's one risk. But as I said, pricing doesn't play that important role vis-a-vis its business model as of now. It's just, I would say, out of 20% growth, I think roughly that would make it, roughly 10 to 15% part is the pricing. So that's a risk, definitely. That's what I said. But since it's one of the leading players behind SLR, only as far as my information goes, this is the second largest player. So I think Thyrocare is also expanding. There is opportunity for others to come in also, because 48% is still standalone regional, 1 or 2 center kind of operations that are happening. And we have seen in our Vinicity, and when we look around, there are very small labs available which are very lucratively done. But obviously, when a leader emerges and has a strong cash on its book and it's doing its operation very profitably, it has a chance to be a leader in the space. So I see this company as a leader in the space. That's why I say, and because pricing is not a big driver, I believe that this company will fare well going forward also.
Okay, Sarabjit. We also have Surajit with us. I just have one question for you, Surajit. I have a question of Alkem Labs on the promoter group. There's a promoter group company which is operating in a similar business in the pharma space. So I just wanted to ask if you've gone through this, and is this something that should raise some concerns as far as the investors are concerned? Any sort of red flag, or do you think there's enough space for both companies to grow in this space?
Yes, I think it really does not matter whether the promoter group has another company over there or not, but I don't think that will raise any concern. There are a couple of issues in the company in terms of investment. They have invested in real estate fund, which is currently showing around 160 crore. Definitely those non-focused area investment which management said is that they have done way back in 2012 when they were not listed, and being listed they will be more responsible for their investment. So in next 2 years their investment commitment will be done and dusted in real estate funds. So there are issues which may come or may not come, but the point is that if you see from valuation point of view vis-a-vis the peers, definitely it has a chance to score pretty high vis-a-vis what is the listing price.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Surajit Pal and Sarabjit Kaur, thanks so much for joining us on this leg. Shraddha, thanks for joining us on this with the research perspective on these two IPOs. With that, it's a wrap on Bloomberg Bottom Line. We say goodbye to you. We'll be back with the top stories on the other side.